This is a heads up for all my subscribers and the ones who want to be in the know. I'm gonna say right up front, if you're not interested in business or geopolitics or anything of that ilk, you can probably turn this off now. This is only for people that want to peep game and those who quote unquote want to build. What's going on right now, till I say the end of the week, is the World Economic Forum in Davos. Now, I would say 90% of the people don't know what Davos is or even care what Davos is. And that would be a rough projection. It might be even generous. But Davos and the World Economic Forum is where 6,000 of the world's richest and most powerful economic leaders come together and talk about shit. In other words, they come together and they start to make policy. They set agendas for the next year. So your world economic agenda, more or less, is being hashed out right now in the halls and in the back rooms of Davos, Switzerland. And you can get a pretty good idea of where the world is going to go or might go by listening to them. This is where rich people and powerful people and the managers of your societies, all of them, I'm not talking about just one or two of them, I'm talking about all of them, come together and they talk about how your life is going to go. And they used to record and they used to broadcast all the forums and all the meetings until people like me started to get wind of it and start looking at it and start peeping game. So now they've cut back what they actually put out to kind of filter it a little bit more. So not too many things can actually get out, but even in the background, there's always somebody in the background that disagrees. They will go to the press and will tell you what's actually going on behind closed doors. I can guarantee you, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, have no clue about what Davos is or what the World Economic Forum is about. Even the folks that read the Wall Street Journal have a kind of a gray notion of what the World Economic Forum is about. One, because it's kind of vague, and second, it's if you don't have any background information or the will to dig through it, you're not going to understand it. That's sometimes, but every now and then they'll say something that everybody can understand. And if you listen to what they're saying and pay heed to what they're saying and listen carefully, somewhere down the line, a month, 2 months, maybe even 6 months later, what they said will come to fruition. I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, and it might be more than that, it might be 5 years ago, the theme of the World Economic Forum was the new normal. How to accept industrial nations and advanced nations growing at a much slower rate than before. 5 years later, guess what the Chinese are saying? They're touting the same slogan, the new normal, or the new normal for China, which is much slower growth than they had before because of the economic conditions. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put the intro to Davos on this clip, but if I don't, I can briefly tell you what they're going to be talking about. They're going to be talking about, of course, immigration. They're going to be talking about what's going on with the oil, of course, and the downside of demand for commodities and the other stuff that people produce and sell. And with that, the downside of demand for energy, gas, oil, electricity, all that stuff. But here's the key. Here's something that they're mentioning and they're just beginning to talk about, and that they're going to talk about that's going to be big and what's something that you should pay heed to. I'm going to give you a clue to peep game. This is me giving you something so that you can peep game. They're going to be talking about the rise of robotics. Robotics is going to be the main theme of Davos this year. Why is that important? You might ask my black populace, my Nubian brothers and sisters, why is that important? Now, many times on this channel, if you're a faithful follower, and I'm talking about to my faithful followers on both channels, I have 2 channels, but on both channels. I've always said, what is the major theme of the Industrial Revolution? It untied the link between human labor and production and human production. It has slowly eroded the need for humans and human labor to produce goods and services. And when they talk about robotics, that's going to even further erode the need for human labor. And the artificial intelligence engines that come along with the robotics are going to reduce the need for human services. So all you pink collar workers and all you white collar workers, bankers, social workers, doctors, nurses, counselors, what have you, the AI are coming for your jobs. You blue collar workers, the robotics, the advanced robots are coming for your jobs. So now that's going to further erode the link between human labor and human production. Why is that important? What happens when you no longer need people to do jobs? That's what they're going to be wrestling over. I'll give you one key that they've been talking about in the background that most people, and I would say 90% of people, don't even think about, which is the driverless car. And everybody thinks the driverless car is a cute idea, that I could get in my car and I can text and I can call and the car will take me where I want to go, which is very true. That's very key. But you're only thinking about a small fraction of what a driverless car can do. If you think about driverless vehicles, not just a car, but a truck, a bus, a train, all these things that fit into the category of human transportation. Those transportation jobs will do what? Go away. If you have a truck that can drive itself and you have robots that can load the truck, then you have a 24/7, 365 day a year transportation system. Trucks that don't have drivers can drive 24 hours and only stop for fuel. They don't need sleep. They don't need vacations. They don't need lunch breaks. Same thing for cab drivers. How many cab drivers and Uber drivers do we have in the United States? How many bus drivers do we have in the United States? And all the myriad other things that are connected to transportation. That's just one place where robotics will actually come in and change our lives. Now, the other fun stuff like a sex bot and all that other, the Roomba that actually vacuums your house, or the personal assistant that teaches your kid, that's another thing. We're talking about jobs. How many people will that affect? How many people will be put out of work? And how will the governments, especially the capitalist governments, handle the fact that so many of those people will be out of work? And if those people are out of work, where does the demand for goods and services come from? The world leaders are going to have to figure out a way to deal with that, won't they? But those are just questions. They don't have answers yet. All they have is questions, and after they come from this forum, they'll have an agenda to seek out those answers. And from those agendas, you're going to start to see policies form. But this is where it starts. This is why us as Black people need to start peeping game. We need to put aside the gender wars and stop trying to figure out, how do I get this chick to bow down to me. Now, that is something that's interpersonal, and it is important. I'm not going to say it's not. But environment drives culture, not the other way around. When the environment changes, your culture will change. Just how the Industrial Revolution has caused the environment to change, and it changed your culture as it sits with the nuclear family and marriage. So, like I've said before, this is This is going to be the new framework. And these are the pieces that are going to come together. So for the folks that want to peep game, and you know who you are, because if you're still listening to this, then you have an appetite, you have a curiosity for peeping game. And this is peeping game on the highest level. You want to know what your managers think and what they think about you? This is where it starts. So I know most of you won't even get to the end of this. I know most of you aren't even interested in what Davos and the World Economic Forum is. And like I say, 90% of you wouldn't understand it if you looked at it. But this is a key. I've known this for about, I would say 10 or 11 years when I peeped it. And I started to notice how they set policies and how those policies came to fruition. Because when you get 6,000 of the most powerful people in the world to set an agenda, guess what? There's follow through. And your lives are shaped and moved by this follow through. So wouldn't it behoove you to know what they are planning for you so that you can make moves to go with the flow or figure out how you can go against it? Normally, people like me don't escape. They find us early. They get their claws in us. And they pay us a lot of money so that we will see, but we won't come back and tell. They never got my claws into me. Into me. I don't make a lot of money. I'm a simple guy, but I'm one of those guys that have those glasses on that can see. And that's why I'm telling you, so that you can look and maybe you can see. But anyway, that's the end of my rant. This is off the cuff. I hope that you heed an old man's warning and peep game and let the gender wars subside for a couple days, because they're only meeting till Thursday. I think it's Thursday. They're only meeting till Friday. And after this week, you won't see them for another year. Pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to the news that comes out this week. It's very important. What they say will affect your life. I'm not saying may affect your life. It will affect your life. It will affect your children's lives. It's going to affect your job. It's going to affect your banking. It's going to affect your social policy. Trust and believe. These are the folks that you want to listen to. Not the half-ass candidates. They're on a podium trying to do a dog and pony show to get elected. These are the folks that run it. And they come every year to World Economic Forum, them or their representatives, to discuss what your life is going to be about for the next year or 5 years. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Talk to you guys on the next one.